Good morning, dear students, and welcome to the second lecture. In the previous lecture, we dealt with news values. We said what is news values, why it is important to know about news values, and so on. Today, we are still with news, but we are concerned with another, let's say, topic, which is the types of news, hard and soft. In the beginning, I mean in the introduction, let's say that after the technological advancement and shift in public interests, a radical shift in news coverage was inevitable. I mean, this shift in news coverage is comes after this, advancement in new technologies and information and communication technologies. So, gathering and compiling and distributing fact-based news to the audience can be from different sources. This is here in this idea we are referring to the sources of news. We are going to see them later on in the lesson. Today, news writers choose to cover news under two broad categories. I mean, you have two broad categories, either hard news or soft news. So this is always, the question. One, are we dealing with hard news, and when it is soft news? Start by the definition of hard news. Hard news, I said, it is that type of news which involves time-sensitive news, such as public events, government actions, international scenes, and so on. This, hard news is also referred to or is also known as spot news or breaking news because those channels and reporters break news uh, as they happened. Okay. Hard news answers, in fact, five questions, which is known 5 Ws and 1 H. What are these questions? They are who, what, when, where, why, and how. This is the last H. The only one H here. So this is the first category of news, which is hard news. Then there is another one, which is soft news. Soft news, if you compare it to hard news, it is that type of news which doesn't have higher priority in news values. It means they are not really important as as hard news are. Sorry. It is called soft because it doesn't deal with serious or significant or important subjects. It includes a variety of news items related to entertainment, celebrities, food, fashion, beauty, and so on and so forth. Now, what is important with news is that, we have to know the sources of these news, and we have to decide later on whether these news whether these different types of news are reliable or not. So, the sources of news, we mean by the source or the origin or the people or the, agencies from where the journalist or reporter gets the different information. This information later on becomes, this information later on becomes what we call news. The sources can be of different types. You can have primary or secondary sources, and you can have, of course, official and unofficial sources. Let's start with primary sources. In fact, with the primary sources, the journalists collect news from their sources, from their origin. So, or go directly to the spot to cover the event. They go where the event is taking place and they try to cover it. For example, when you see a journalist, let's take the example of what happened in Palestine in the 2 previous days. There are some journalists who, uh, in fact, tried to go there to cover the event. This is what we call they go directly to the spot. Where the event is happening, the journalist goes there and tries to report what is happening at the real moment. And you have secondary source, news come from print media or news agencies. I mean, not from the direct place or spot, but from print media. You can see what is written in print media or news agencies. Official news, in fact, those news which comes directly from the organization in the form of press release or official briefing. I mean, they send these different reporters or journalists these press releases or press notes and so on. An official, way of having news is when those news come from grapevine, just some rumors, backbiting, and so on, and they are not confirmed by official sources. I mean, this type of news cannot be confirmed by official sources. Let's move. Sources. Credibility of our sources. In order to, journalists have to check whether their news or information are, are trustworthy to make them public. Before that, there are some important elements to take into account when considering the believability of news. First, you have reliability. If your source is a good source, it is always reliable. What is the meaning of reliable? It means that you can count on that source. You can believe it. You can believe in what it brings to you, and you can trust it. It is trustworthy. Confirmability. If the past information can be confirmed by other sources. For example, you pass an information as a news, then there is another channel, or there is another, let's say, a journalist or another agency or organization which report the same news. So you can say that your news or your information is confirmed. So it is this is what we call confirmability. So it is reliable and believable. Then you have proximity. The proximity of the source to the place of the event determines the credibility, of the source to some extent. What by proximity? In fact, I mean that those events which are happening in the nearby, just near you, your village, your country, and so on, your city. So these are, events that you can confirm because you are just there. You can see whether they are reliable or not. So you have motive or the intention. In fact, the credibility of source. We can judge that this source is reliable or credible, or if it has, the motives of passing on the information. Just it is not just for the sake of passing information, but if the motive is, let's say, a good one. By confirming the news, that this news is reliable, taken from official sources. Is so this is how we can check the credibility of our source. The last element here is contextuality. It means that the credibility of the source depends on the contextuality, of the information. We cannot judge whether this information, or this news is important or reliable or something like that, without knowing about the background or the context of such information. Now, in the conclusion, I say why it is important to know about soft news and hard news. In fact, it is important to make this distinction because soft news and hard news uh, gives you a basis, or uh, creates your own style of writing your news story. When you have hard news and when you have soft news, you have two different styles of writing your news story. So a hard news story covers significant events. When you are writing about significant events, You previously, now that you are dealing with hard news story, this is what we call the inverted pyramid style, which we are going to see in the next or the coming, in the coming lectures, inshallah. So then, a hard news story covers significant event with practical, real world impacts. You can feel the impacts of such news, okay? So, because they are weighty events, they are important, they are significant. Whereas soft news does not, in fact, carry the same weighty meaning as hard news. They are less significant, less important, because it just covers stories related to, something like entertainment, celebrities, fashion, arts, and so on. So, they don't usually have real world impacts on the receiving society. So news sources can provide insights. Thanks to these different sources we have seen, primary source, secondary, official or unofficial, and so on. These sources can provide insights. You can have an idea or finding out people's actions or opinions and reaction, as well as finding reports of what happened at the event itself. Your sources can help you to check, the reliability of your news, and of course your news, then it is going to be either hard news or soft news. Details, you can go and check for these links I gave here. Thank you. Before that, let me I expect that I was clear enough in explaining or dealing with this lesson. So thank you for your attention. See you next time, inshallah.